I knew something was wrong when Dad's number flashed on my phone at 6 a.m. My father, the perpetual late riser, never called before noon unless there was drama. And in our family, drama usually meant money or housing. "Sarah, your brother needs a place to stay," he said without greeting. "Just for a few months until the divorce settles." I sat up in bed, already feeling a headache forming. "Good morning to you too, Dad. And no, Mike can't stay here. It's our house, we can decide who stays there. You're my landlords and I have a lease. Remember? The one you insisted on making official." The irony wasn't lost on me. 6 months ago, they'd been adamant about proper paperwork, making sure everything was business, not personal. Now that Mike needed a place, suddenly we were back to being one big happy family. "He's your brother, Sarah. He's going through a rough time." "A rough time of his own making," I reminded him. Karen didn't leave because things were great. Before Dad could respond, my doorbell rang. Through the security camera, I saw Mike standing there, looking like he'd rehearsed his sad face in the car mirror. "He's already there, isn't he?" I sighed. "Just hear him out," Dad pleaded. "The house is big enough for both of you." I opened the door to find my older brother, the self-proclaimed real estate genius, reduced to carrying his life in 2 designer suitcases. His normally immaculate suit was wrinkled, but his Rolex still gleamed. Classic Mike, broke but keeping up appearances. "Hey sis," he attempted a winning smile. "Got room for your favorite brother?" "I got a lease that says I don't," I replied but stepped aside. At least we could have this conversation inside rather than entertaining the neighbors. Mike wheeled his luggage into my living room, my carefully curated space that I'd spent 3 years making my own. His eyes swept over the modern furniture and art pieces I collected, probably already calculating how to rearrange everything to his taste. "Nice place," he commented. "Dad says you've really fixed it up." "Yes, I have. With my money, my time, and my name on a lease." About that, he set down his bags like he was already moving in. "Dad thinks." "Dad doesn't get to think anything about my legal rental agreement," I cut him off. "Neither does Mom. Or you." My phone buzzed again. Mom this time, right on cue. Our parents' divide and conquer strategy hadn't changed since we were kids. "Sarah," her voice dripped with concern, "your father says you're being difficult about helping your brother." "I'm being legal about my rental agreement," I corrected. "The same agreement you and Dad insisted on because family and business shouldn't mix. Remember that conversation?" "That was different," she protested. "This is an emergency." I looked at Mike, who was now sprawled on my couch like he owned it. "Losing your house because you gambled away your commission checks isn't an emergency. It's a consequence." "I didn't gamble everything," he protested. "The market turned. After you took out second mortgages on your clients' referrals to cover your poker debts," I finished. "Karen told me everything before she left." Mom's voice sharpened. "Your brother made mistakes, but family helps family." "Family respects boundaries," I countered. "Family doesn't show up uninvited expecting to move in. Family doesn't use parents to manipulate siblings." Mike sat up, dropping the wounded act. "Look, I just need 3 months. The divorce settlement." "We'll show you hid assets and lied to your wife," I interrupted. "Karen's lawyer already has the proof." That shut him up. Mike had always underestimated his wife's intelligence, just like he underestimated mine. "Sarah," Dad was back on the line. They'd switched to speakerphone. "The house is my legal residence," I finished. "I pay rent. I have a lease. I follow the rules you set up. Remember why we did all that paperwork? Because you said mixing family and business always ends badly." Silence from the phone. They remembered. "Mike," I turned to my brother, "you need to leave. Now." "Where am I supposed to go?" he demanded. "Where was Karen supposed to go when you mortgaged her dream house without telling her? Where were your clients supposed to go when you gambled away their deposits? That's not fair. Neither is showing up at my door expecting me to clean up your mess." Again, Mom's voice turned pleading. "Just for a few weeks." "No," I said firmly. "I won't set myself on fire to keep Mike warm. Not anymore." I pulled out my phone and opened the lease agreement, the one they'd insisted on, with all its legal language about occupancy and unauthorized tenants. "You have 2 choices," I told my parents. "Either honor our legal agreement or I'll find another place to rent. One where family drama doesn't come with the keys." "You'd move out?" Dad's voice cracked. "Over this?" I'd move out to protect my boundaries. Your choice. Mike stood up, finally reading the room. This isn't over. Actually, it is. Take your bags and leave, or I call the police and report an attempted illegal occupancy. Karen's lawyer would love to add that to the divorce files. After you left, I turned off my phone and poured myself a coffee. The morning sun streamed through the windows. I'd restored myself, highlighting the space I'd earned through hard work and responsible choices. My phone buzzed one last time, a text from Karen. Mike just called me ranting about you refusing to take him in. Thank you for not enabling him again. Some lessons need to be learned the hard way. I smiled and settled into my quiet, drama-free home. Sometimes the hardest part of helping family is knowing when to stop. The fallout was immediate and predictable. By evening, my social media was flooded with cryptic family posts about blood being thicker than water and helping those in need. Mom's sister, Aunt Patricia, called to remind me how Mike had always been there for me. Remember when he helped you move in? She pressed. You mean when he showed up for an hour, carried one box, and then tried to convince me to invest in his pyramid scheme? I replied, yeah, I remember. The family group chat exploded with messages about compassion and Christian duty. Funny how those values only surfaced when Mike needed something. A week after the doorstep confrontation, Mom appeared at my office during my lunch break. She brought my favorite sandwich from the deli downtown, our classic peace offering technique. Mike's sleeping on your father's office couch, she said, unwrapping the sandwich. The divorce is getting ugly. Divorces tend to do that when one spouse empties the joint accounts for poker games, I replied, but took the sandwich anyway. No sense letting good pastrami go to waste. He made mistakes, she admitted, but he's trying to change. He's been going to Gamblers Anonymous. For how long? He started yesterday. I couldn't help but laugh. And let me guess, he needs a stable address to show the court he's getting his life together. Her silence was answer enough. Mom, do you know why I rent from you and Dad instead of buying my home place? She shook her head. Because you both insisted it would be a good investment for the family. Keep the money in the family, Dad said. Build generational wealth, you said. Now you're trying to use that same argument to enable Mike's behavior. We're not enabling. You're trying to force me to house someone who stole from his wife, lied to his clients, and gambled away his commission checks. That's the definition of enabling. My phone buzzed. A text from Karen. Mike's lawyer is claiming he's homeless and destitute. Living on a leather couch in a luxury real estate office doesn't quite fit that narrative. I showed Mom the message. Still think he's changed. She stared at her hands. Your father and I, we worry about him. But you never worry about me, I said quietly, because I handle my responsibilities. I pay my bills. I honor my agreements. When did being reliable become a punishment? We're not punishing you. No, you're just trying to turn my home into Mike's latest escape plan. Like you did with his college fund, his first business loan, and his down payment. How much have you and Dad given him over the years? She wouldn't meet my eyes. That's what I thought, I continued. And how much has he paid back? He's family, she whispered. So am I, but I'm the family member you can count on. So I'm the one you feel comfortable pressuring, because you know I care about your feelings. Mike doesn't. Just then, my phone rang. Dad's office number. Your brother's made a proposal, he said when I answered. He'll pay half your rent if you let him stay. With what money? Silence. Let me guess. You and Mom would actually be paying his half. Just until he gets back on his feet, Dad argued. Like the last 5 times? No, my lease, my rules. We could revise the lease. Then I'll find somewhere else to live, I said firmly. Somewhere without family strings attached. That got their attention. The house had been their investment, their way of keeping me close. The thought of me moving out scared them more than Mike's latest crisis. You really leave? Mom's voice cracked. To protect my peace? Yes, I love you both. But I won't let you turn my home into Mike's rehabilitation center. After they left, I started researching other rentals in the area. Not because I wanted to move, but because I needed them to know I could. That evening, Mike showed up again, this time with Karen's lawyer's latest filing, proof he hidden assets in offshore accounts. I need your help, he admitted. The judge is going to crucify me. Good, I replied. Maybe you'll finally face consequences for your choices. I'm your brother. And Karen was your wife. Those clients were your responsibility. Being family doesn't excuse betrayal. He slumped against my doorframe. I've lost everything. No, you gambled everything. There's a difference. Mom and Dad won't be your enablers this time, I finished. At least not through me. After you left, I sent Karen the security footage of both his visits. Her lawyer would find them interesting. That night, I received a group text from my parents. Dad, we fought about what you said. Mom, you're right about enabling. Dad, the lease stands as is. No unauthorized occupants. Mom, we're sorry for pressuring you. I smiled but didn't respond immediately. Actions would matter more than words. The next morning, I woke to news that Mike had been arrested for attempting to break into Karen's house. The family group chat was silent for the first time in weeks. Karen called me later that day. They found evidence on his phone. He was planning to take our son and flee the country. Your refusal to hide him, you probably prevented a kidnapping. I sat in my quiet, peaceful home, the home I'd earned through honest work and responsible choices. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for family is let them face the consequences of their actions. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from Dad. We've changed the office locks. Mike needs to find his own way now. Finally, I thought, better late than never. 3 months after Mike's arrest, I sat in the courthouse watching my brother's sentencing. Attempted kidnapping, financial fraud, and violation of court orders. The judge wasn't feeling lenient. Mom and Dad sat in the row behind me, finally looking their age. They'd stopped defending Mike after finding evidence that he'd forged Dad's signature on business loans. Some betrayals cut too deep for even parental love to excuse. 5 years, the judge announced, with mandatory counseling and restitution payments. Karen squeezed my hand. Since the arrest, we'd grown closer. Sometimes the strongest family bonds aren't the ones we're born with, but the ones we choose to honor. You did the right thing, she whispered. If you'd let him stay with you. He would have taken Tommy and disappeared, I finished, thinking of my young nephew who nearly lost everything to his father's desperation. As they led Mike away, he looked back at us, not with anger, but with something that might have been recognition. Maybe finally he understood that real family love sometimes means letting someone hit rock bottom. Outside the courthouse, Mom pulled me aside. We're selling the office building, she said quietly. Your father's retiring. Because of Mike's loans? She nodded. The bank audit found everything. We could fight it, but you're tired of fighting his battles, I finished. The house, your house, she corrected herself, isn't affected. We made sure of that. Your lease is safe. I looked at my parents, seeing not the enablers they'd been, but the victims they'd become. Why don't you come over for dinner tonight? We can talk about everything. That evening, sitting in my kitchen, we had the conversation we should have had years ago. We failed both of you, Dad admitted, staring into his coffee. We protected Mike from consequences until he thought he was untouchable, and we took your stability for granted. We put so much pressure on you because we knew you could handle it, Mom added. That wasn't fair. No, I agreed, it wasn't, but we can do better now. It looked up, surprised by the we. I'll keep renting the house, I said. Not because you need the income, but because it's my home. Real lease, real boundaries, real respect. And Mike, Mom asked softly, gets to learn what we should have taught him years ago, that actions have consequences, and family means accountability, not endless bailouts. Dad reached across the table and took my hand. When did you get so wise? When I stopped letting family guilt override my boundaries, I replied. Later that night, after they left, Karen called with news. The offshore accounts had been found. Mike had hidden away nearly $500,000. The court's seizing everything, she said. Tommy's college fund will be restored. I never thought that refusing to help Mike would actually help everyone, I suggested. Exactly. Thank you, Sarah, for being the sister I needed, even when it meant standing against your brother. After we hung up, I walked through my home, the space I protected from becoming another chapter in Mike's self-destruction story. The walls held memories of boundaries drawn and respect earned. My phone buzzed with a message from the family group chat. Aunt Patricia was already suggesting ways to help Mike get back on his feet after prison. I left the chat without responding. Some people never learn, but I had. My lease renewal notice sat on the counter. 6 more months of peaceful, drama-free living. I signed it immediately, adding a note. Thank you for choosing accountability over enabling. Here's to healthy boundaries and real family love. Because sometimes the strongest foundations aren't built on blood ties, but on the courage to say no when yes would be easier. 1 year after Mike's sentencing, I received a letter from prison. Unlike his previous messages full of manipulation and blame, this one was different. Dear Sarah, by refusing to enable me, you actually saved me. My therapist says it's called rock bottom, that moment when excuses run out. I hit mine in your doorway, though I didn't know it then. I'm not asking for forgiveness or help. I'm just acknowledging that you saw through me when everyone else couldn't, or wouldn't. Mike. I folded the letter and added it to my Boundaries Win folder, right next to my newest document, the purchase agreement for the house. Mom and Dad had finally decided to sell it to me, turning my rental victory into permanent ownership. It's time for clean slates, Dad said at the closing. No more family loans, no more complex arrangements. Just honest transactions and clear boundaries. Karen and Tommy had moved into the neighborhood last month, just 3 blocks away. Every Sunday, Tommy would ride his bike over, proud of his aunt's house. The house that hadn't become his father's hiding place. You're more family than some blood relatives, Karen told me over coffee one morning. You chose integrity when it would have been easier to cave. The real test came during the holidays. Aunt Patricia launched her annual family forgiveness campaign, this time with a GoFundMe for Mike's fresh start. He needs a safety net for when he's released, she argued at the family dinner. No, I said firmly, he needs to build his own net this time, with honest work and real change. Blood is thicker than water, she insisted. Actually, Karen spoke up, the full quote is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. It means chosen bonds are stronger than forced ones. Aunt Patricia left early, 3 others closed their checkbooks. Sometimes truth spreads like ripples in a pond. I started a support group for families dealing with gambling addiction, teaching others what I'd learned about tough love and real boundaries. Mom joined me as a co-facilitator, turning her enabling expertise into prevention wisdom. We enable because we think love means rescue, she told the group. But sometimes love means stepping back and letting people face their choices. Dad sold his remaining properties, finally retiring without the weight of Mike's financial ghosts. They bought a small condo, started traveling, and learned to be parents without being bankers. The last piece fell into place when Mike's cellmate's family showed up at my door, looking for investment opportunities. Mike said you might be interested, they suggested. I smiled, thinking of his letter. Actually, he knew I'd say no. That's why he sent you, to hear it for yourselves. After they left, I sat on my porch, legally and completely, watching Tommy ride his bike with his new neighborhood friends. My phone buzzed with a group text. Mom, family dinner Sunday. Karen, we'll bring dessert. Dad, no business talk allowed. Me, perfect. Later that night, I added a final note to my boundaries journal. Family isn't about sharing blood or houses or bail money. It's about sharing truth, respect, and the courage to love people enough to let them face their own choices. Sometimes the strongest families are the ones rebuilt from the ashes of enabling. I closed the journal and looked around my home. The home I protected, earned, and now owned. Some boundaries are made of walls and leases. The best ones are made of wisdom and love.